here in Central Park. This is our final installment of As You Pass By. And you can see here the Cleopatra'S Needle as it stands in Central Park. We're going to take a walk up and take a look at it more closely. You can see the hieroglyphs still inscribed in the marble, in the granite stone. It's quite tall, and unfortunately, since the obelisk was moved to Manhattan in 1880, there's been significant erosion of the hieroglyphics of the whole entire obelisk. And you can see here on this side they're a little more prominent, but they survived for 3,500 years in Egypt much better than they survived in New York City. So you'll notice it's on a bit of an angle, and it does not align with the street grid. And but the main curious question is, why is it here? Why is it on this particular spot? And it's not in any way connected to the museum. I'm not saying they have nothing to do with each other, but why is it on this location? We're here near the museum, which you can see right over there, and the roadway. No cars today. And the reason is, this monument lines up exactly, to the inch, with the similar monuments on 25th Street and on Fulton Street. The Emmett obelisk, which we've been to already, and the Worth obelisk, which we've also visited. This obelisk was put up by the Freemasons in New York City in 1880. There was a huge parade of Freemasons when this monument was installed, and it was put here specifically on purpose so that it would line up with those other two obelisks, and it does. Around the base, you can see a couple of irregularly shaped stones. This one here on the corner, and over here there's a small stone there underneath, and this one, which is not the same size as all the others. And finally, on this side, we have one sort of out of place stone here at the bottom. And these two here, you can see these are do not conform to the other stones, and they were cut out. And I'm not sure which one is the cornerstone, but one of them is the cornerstone that was laid here in 1880. And they contain papers, and they also contain some Masonic papers and symbols that were put here. No one knows what's in them. And this is part 2 of As You Pass By, the secret of Cleopatra'S Needle. And we're back at the, and you may recognize the monument of General Worth, which is on 25th Street and Broadway. Well, Broadway's over there, 5th Avenue is over here, and they intersect. General Worth was buried here in 1849, which makes this the second obelisk in a row. So we're first looking at the Emmett obelisk, which was down on Fulton Street at St. Paul's Chapel. And then we have this one. You also are going to notice that the monument itself is not really based on the street grid of Manhattan. It's turned slightly to an angle. You can see that it doesn't quite line up with any of the streets around it. Well, Broadway is sort of on its own, but you can see there's a slight north-south tilt to this monument. It's quite tall. And it's also filled with Masonic symbolism. The wreath, the swords, which are all over the place, the arm with the shield coming out of it. And we're also right around the corner from the Grand Lodge of the Freemasons, which is not a coincidence. And the placement of this is not a coincidence either. It was placed here sort of with the backing and assistance of the Freemasons right around the corner. So, aside from being a Freemason, who was General Worth, Major General William Jenkins Worth? He fought in the War of 1812. He's buried here, one of the rarities of New York City history. He also fought in the Mexican War. He died at an early age of about 56 in Mexico from cholera. And he was originally buried in Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn. And then his remains were moved here, where they remain today. Pretty much if nobody is paying any attention to the monument. It's peak tourist season, just before the holidays. And it's safe to say that if I asked nobody knows who General Worth was, or what happened, or why he's here. But anyway, he is. This is him. And this is monument number 2 in the mysteries of Cleopatra'S Needle. Thank you for watching another episode of As You Pass By. This was the mysteries of the Cleopatra'S Needle, and we've solved part of it, the part that sort of lays out what's going on with these obelisks and the fact that they do in fact line up, which you can see very clearly from the map that I've drawn. But it doesn't exactly answer the why part. In other words, why was this so important for somebody to go to this much expense and effort and time to erect the final obelisk, Cleopatra'S Needle, on this exact spot in Central Park? It took a Herculean effort to put it there, and the question still is out there: what was the reason? Why was this necessary? And I think I have an answer, but we're going to have to come back and explore it later in another episode. And I think the answer has to do with water, because the obelisk itself stands on just a few feet from where the old, it was called the Yorkville Reservoir, stood, and was replaced in the 1860s by the Great Lawn. And you can still see some remnants of it. And then we have on 25th Street, some major intersections of the water mains bringing water down from the Catskills to New York City. The line also intersects where one of the other main reservoirs were in Manhattan, and that's on 42nd Street and 5th Avenue, which is now where the public library is. It was a large reservoir. It was built in a sort of Egyptian style to resemble one of the temples of Karnak. So my best hunch is that the water had something to do with the placement of these obelisks, because they're all significant. Well, most of all significant to something to do with the water supply. But we'll come back to that, and we'll watch another episode that's going to be devoted just to that subject. So again, thank you for watching, and we look forward to presenting more videos for you. Thanks.